We're going to go live in 1 minute.
Good morning, everybody. Looks like most of us are here, and welcome to possibly our last meeting. I'll turn it over to Kristen.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Health-Related Institutions Formula Advisory Committee meeting to order. Thank you for being here this morning. I hope everyone had a fantastic holiday break. I'm Kristen Nace from the Texas A&M Health Science Center, and I am the committee chair. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast over the internet and recorded, so I would like to ask all attendees to please silence your cell phones. Also, since we are meeting via Zoom, please mute your connection until you're ready to speak, just to prevent background noise. One note about my background noise, it just happens to be that our building is coming under some construction today, and you may hear banging or drilling. I apologize in advance, but I don't think it would be disruptive to the meeting, so we'll just continue. So let's begin with the roll call. Just a quick reminder, if you don't have your full name in your image, please rename yourself on Zoom so that members of the public know who is in attendance. Melita, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Alford.
Here.
Ms. Gomez-Leon.
Here.
Mr. Guajardo.
Here.
Ms. Harkey.
Here.
Dr. Lang. I see him in the chat. Okay. Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Maureen Hill.
Here.
Dr. McCullers.
Here.
Mr. Miller. And I
Here.
understood. Oh, you're here. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Nace.
Here.
Ms. Shear.
Here.
Ms. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Tremonte.
Here.
Ms. Withers.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Thank you. Quorum is present, so we'll move on to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes. For approval of the minutes from the December 3rd meeting, I'll turn it over to Mr. Kemp Lewis.
Good morning. Is there any discussion of the December 3rd minutes?
Could I ask for a clarification?
Sure.
On page 2, under the second paragraph, can we modify that sentence to say recommendations were approved with note to consider hold harmless language in the final report as it pertained to the mission specific for performance-based research. I think that was what we were specifically talking about and targeting was the mission specific hold harmless.
Okay. We can, Alita, I believe we can add that language just to be specific.
Absolutely. Would you mind repeating it for me?
Sure. Recommendations were approved with note to consider hold harmless language in the final report as it pertained to mission-specific funding for performance-based research.
Okay, thank you.
With that change, can I have is there a motion to approve the December 3rd meeting minutes with that recommended change?
So moved.
Is
Second,
there a second?
second.
Second, Mr. Tremonte. So I have first motion by Miss Marine Hill, second by Mr. Tremonte. Will all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Thank you. Our next order of business is the discussion of charges, so I'll turn it back over to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you. For this agenda item, everyone may recall from the December meeting that the committee has not yet voted on the work group charge 2B. This charge was to study and make recommendations for the appropriate INO formula weights, including consideration of any new specialty programs such as behavioral health and optometry. I'll turn it over to Mr. Tremonte at this time for continued discussion.
Yes, I actually believe we were, Ms. Berger was going to collect, and I believe she has collected information from the various institutions who had behavioral sciences programs so we could get a feel for what the overall financial impact would be. Ms. Berger, I don't have that at my fingertips, but is that something that you could provide?
Yes, we did receive responses from everyone. 6 HRIs provided data for behavioral health hours, and the estimated cost would be 8.7 million.
Of which I'm assuming a portion of that is effectively covered currently by other formulas or by other INO programs. That would just be moving necessarily from, whether it's a grad school or whatever into this. So it's not all new money. Is that accurate?
I would defer to you all, but I believe that when I received the data, folks told me how the other hours were to be adjusted, and that's what I did. So if they were allied health or nursing, we reduced those hours and put them into behavioral health with the new weight. So I do
Okay.
believe it's probably new funding or new
Okay.
cost.
Okay. Excuse me. At this point, again, I don't know that there was any real concern, but certainly would open it up to the committee about the rate that was calculated. And again, the work group did recommend bringing that rate forward. And I believe it was 2.075 was recommended. And so I guess I look to the committee for their approval.
Does anybody have any questions? Or would you like any additional information before we actually take a vote?
Yes, if you could please walk us through the differential in costs. I don't think we have heard the approach or analysis in the differential in costs, and that would be helpful, please.
Sure. So basically what we did is we started with the cost study information that the work group that was working on graduate nursing, graduate allied health. We used the cost information we had collected institutionally here at UT Health Houston and compared that to the graduate nursing, graduate allied health programs. What we've found was that again, cost always really exceeded what the formulas generate, but we came up and we calculated I think at the time it was like 83% or something along that line. We applied that same ratio that the recommended formulas had in order to back into the weight for behavioral health. So it's not, it is a cost-based basis, but it's cost of the psychiatric program to the cost of graduate nursing and graduate allied health. And I'm happy to send you the information we submitted initially to Ms. Nace.
If it would be helpful, I could share my screen with the one pager that was drafted on this.
Sure.
And let me know if this doesn't look correct, but I think this is the table you were referring to here.
That is it. So effectively what we did is we took graduate nursing and the average graduate cost in graduate nursing was $17,514. Behavioral health was $24,100. The current formula was $11,185. What we did, we applied the cost coverage by formula to assume that it was 64%. That's how we came up with the 15,392 for the 64% equivalent amount. The idea was that again, with the graduate rates increasing, that changed the ratio, the percentage of cost covered by the newer formula rate to 85%. We backed into that same amount, which gave us the 20,396 amount, which came out to 2.075 from a weight perspective. So it's again, we somewhat went lockstep with graduate nursing in that respect. Any questions regarding the methodology?
I have a question not about the methodology, but I'm curious, how many graduate behavioral health programs did you find at all the HRIs across the state?
Melita, you probably can respond to that better than I can.
Yes, we had, so the 4 affected categories were biomedical science, allied health, graduate and undergraduate, nursing, and public health. Excuse me. If you'd like, I can tell you how many hours were reported by each school. Is that what you're looking for?
No, just I guess more qualitative. How many, number of graduate, how many institutions have graduate behavioral health programs? And are there, a number of them at each of those institutions? Or are they, 1, 2?
I didn't get that level of detailed response. So I'm not sure I'll answer your question fully, but as you know, UT Southwestern has a clinical psychology PhD. UT Houston has behavioral health that was carved out of allied health in undergraduate and graduate. So I'm not sure which programs those were. UT San Antonio, similarly, behavioral health came out of graduate nursing. At Texas A&M, behavioral health came out of graduate nursing as well as public health. At UNT, it was from graduate nursing, and from Texas Tech, from graduate allied health and graduate nursing.
Thanks, Melita.
Any additional questions? At this point, I guess I'm asking for a motion to approve.
So
I-
moved.
Second.
I think you got both a first and a second, Mike, if everybody heard that correctly. Okay, so, will all in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. We also had, in regards to 2B, the issue of optometry. And you may remember that at the December working group meeting, the recommendation was to effectively, sorry, I'm going to pull up my notes real quick. The working group recommendation is to have the funding similar to programs funded under the GAI formula construct, but pursue cost-based adjustments similar to VetMed. There was a request at that December meeting that I reach out to the chair of the GAI committee and correspond and relay that information to them. And I've done so with no response from that committee, but I just wanted to give everyone an update. If all is well, I think we're ready to move on to the final report. On December the 19th, Melita was able to send out the draft copy of the final report that at that time include the recommendations that were approved for charge 1 and for charge 2A. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to review that draft report. I hope that you have. A couple of items I would like to note about that report. In the executive summary, there are quite a lot of data points that come from either the AAMC or the Census Bureau. We have updated those data points to the best of our abilities at this time. The overall report will need to be turned in later in the month of January, and our plan is to continue to look at those data points, and if those entities update those data points to a more current number before we have to turn our report in, we'll be updating those data points. Again, it's from the AAMC and from the Census Bureau. It's really talking about the impact the various numbers have on Texas statewide populations and governments in response to, where we are as far as education goes and cost and the people that we serve. Additionally, we've had a suggestion to round the percentage changes that you're seeing in the INO formula rates. Currently, they're in the report to the 100th or to the second decimal place, and the request has been to just simply round them to the 10th or the single decimal place. It has no impact on the dollar amount being requested and is only being done to kind of make it look more simplistic and more aligned. I think it makes for a better view, to be honest with you, not to take it to the 100th. Would anybody have any thoughts or opposition to either of these suggestions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and propose adoption of the report as amended with the charge 2B recommendation that we just voted on, with the approval of the coordinating board staff to make minor non-substantive edits, as well as formatting and layout adjustments for the final publication. Do we have any final discussion on the final report?
Kristen, I do have one question. I'm sorry, Lauren, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was looking on, oh, what page is it? 1, 2, 4, 5. 5 under instruction and operations. The
Okay.
second paragraph. When it refers to many HRIs are now mature institutions at or near full capacity. I just wanted to ask the question, is it inferred that when we say at or near full capacity, whose definition does capacity mean? Is that the accrediting board's definitions, institutions' definitions? Is it already inferred? Do we need to clarify that, or is it sufficient to be left as is? Has that ever been scrutinized? I guess that may be more of a question for Melita. Has anybody ever questioned by whose definition full capacity is defined at?
I am not aware of this language having been in a previous report. So I'm not sure I know the answer to that.
I like it, and I don't want to, I'm not suggesting that we remove it. I just am begging the question, do we need to define who is defining full capacity?
So I did not, sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Angelica.
Kristen. Jenny, I'll chime in just from recollection of conversations around this topic, over the years. I think especially when the GME formula was created 20 years ago, and there was a cost report, there was discussion about institutions being at capacity or mature, and the understanding at that point was a number of Texas institutions have been at enrollment of medical schools and other schools actually at enrollment of over 200, maybe hovering around 230 or so for many, many years and not grown above that rate. I think that's at the time, people talked about the infrastructure needed to go above 200, or so, 200, 250 students per class. And that also is among the largest classes in the country. I think there's one other school in Indiana that has more than that, but it actually it includes enrollment from 2 campuses. And so it was more of, based on existing enrollment at institutions for 5, 10, 15, at UT Southwestern now, almost or over 25 years. We've been at 230, 240 enrollment because we would require a whole new campus, whole new infrastructure to absorb more students. And so I think it's been more of a practical working definition. I don't know that, and also based on national sizes of medical schools, across the country. But I don't know that there is a specific AAMC definition, for example. But I see Dr. Lang is on. I think he is very familiar with this issue.
Yeah, Angelica, and so I would reiterate what you said. The capacity is determined by 2 things. One is the physical facilities and also the clinical training opportunities. And that's usually defined, Jenny, in the past has been defined by the institutions themselves. I've never had the legislature or the Higher Education Coordinating Board question any of our volumes. And as you know, from as small a school as Dell, which has 50 students, to UT Southwestern to 240. So, I feel comfortable leaving it vague with a history that Angelica described.
And I'm good with that. I thank you for that background. I again, not me intending to thwart this. I just didn't want anybody to come back and say full capacity equals 200. And if you're not at 200, you're not defined at 200 or full capacity. Therefore, there is no, just looking at our enrollment rates at the various campuses and could there be scrutiny on that? So I'm good with that. I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on what we were trying to support in that language. And I'm good leaving it institutionally defined for those various reasons. Thank you very much.
Person, I was just going to ask, would it be possible if we could have a couple more days just to make sure we've fully reviewed with everyone at our campuses. And as I think Melita noted, share any potential edits with the group and could be approved without another meeting. If that would be possible.
Yes, I think that is possible. I think we have done that in the past as well. Melita might correct me on this, but I believe the requirement for our committee is to have the final report by the end of this month. So I would ask that we please not go all the way to the end of the month. I'm typically not a person that likes to turn things in on the due date. I would prefer a few days prior to that. So perhaps everyone could have their edits to us, say, do you think in a week by the 14th or so, is that provide ample time?
I think that sounds very reasonable.
Okay. And we will also continue to work on the language on the final report for the charge 2B that's been approved. We're pretty much there in regards to it because we had, some of the background information as we saw today already prepared, but we'll try to get that entered and get a fresh report out to everybody that includes that. But we did check in with Melita this morning. And Tomas was able to check in with her to find out if anybody had submitted any recommendations in writing as to make an adjustment to that final report. And thus far, we haven't gotten any, but we would definitely encourage everyone to do so if there's other things that you've addressed. Is there any further discussion in regards to the final report? Maybe we'll have additional edits coming out next week. If people have feedback next week. Okay. So I think in that regard, we might be able to take a vote. I don't know if we should do that now or if we should hold off. And if we did hold off, we would take the vote by email. So I don't know if that's okay with everyone or if you feel comfortable going ahead and taking the vote now. For the recommendation.
I would prefer to wait until the recommendation for 2B is incorporated into the report.
Okay, I'm okay with that. So then we'll go ahead and take the vote by email, if everyone's good with it. I'll ask that once the email goes out seeking your approval to vote, if you'll please be prompt in doing so, so that we can get this wrapped up by the end of the month and
Kristen, this is Rick. For those that for any reason vote nay, if they would provide a brief explanation so the rest of us could see, that would be very helpful.
Yes, I agree. A reply all would be appreciated. Yes.
Or any reasons, recommendations. So thank you.
So Kristen, I guess I would suggest that perhaps we leave ourselves open to having one additional committee meeting, should there be a need, toward the end of the month. That way, if any dialogue is required, then at least we've got a forum to talk through it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean it needs to happen, but I would say maybe it's worth setting a placeholder on a calendar.
Okay. If I look at the calendar, if everyone's edits could be back by the 14th, which is next Wednesday, and then based on those edits, perhaps we have, I don't know what people's availability is, but perhaps we have a potential meeting perhaps either the 20th or the 21st, which is a Tuesday or a Wednesday. If anybody has any significant issues with that, I think the time frame would still be 10 to 12. that should still provide ample time, I'm hoping.
Can you repeat the dates that you were considering, Kristen?
Sorry.
That's
The-
okay.
The 20th or the 21st. If we went with the 21st, that would follow, our Wednesday meeting kind of cadence. But I'm not sure if anybody is direly opposed. Okay, hearing none, we'll pencil in the 21st from 10 to 12. Please put a hold on your calendar for a potential meeting. Ideally, though, we would like to have all edits back by the 14th. And if it looks like we can take a vote through email to do this, then we'll certainly that would be our preference, is to do that. But thank you, Mike. It is very valuable to have an opportunity to voice any concerns.
Mike, apropos to Penny's comment about 2B, do you mind sending out that information that you provided on screen so we can just take a look at it?
Certainly.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Okay. If there are no further discussions, and we've already addressed a potential meeting and action items moving forward, can I please have a motion to adjourn?
So.
Thank you. Second? I see Dr. Lang for a second. Okay, thank you so much. This Formula Advisory Committee meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Bye-bye.